What is going on, everyone? We are here for week 8 of the Ferrari Fixed Challenge GT3 Track Guide Series. This week we are at Imola. It should be a pretty cool little circuit. Lots of sort of tight, twisty sections through the chicanes, but then there's a couple of high-speed, long radius style corners as well. So quite a good track for racing, actually. Quite a few passing opportunities. So looking forward to bringing you guys this track guide for this week, and hope your racing's been going well so far this season. Appreciate everybody that's been reaching out and commenting, liking the video, subscribing to the channel. It's been really awesome to see. So we will kick off with Imola for week 8 of the Ferrari GT3 Challenge Series. Thanks, guys. Alright guys, so now we're going to break down the lap. So as you're coming down into turn 1, I sort of like diagonal the car, I get close to this curb, then I start to head back towards the blue cone to set myself up for the braking zone. Now the braking zone is, I kind of use the reference of the escape road as the zone, but I'm actually braking just a smidgen before, more towards that little orange square on the wall there. So it's probably about 1.5 meters, 2 meters before the actual escape road that touches the track, but it's around that sort of 160 mark. So it's because you're carrying so much speed down here, big massive braking zone into the corner. So you want to get, I wouldn't say you want to be right up against the road either, edge of the road either. So if you look at the trajectory I'm at right now, I'm aiming for that orange square on the tyre wall all the way down there. So I kind of find that that is like a good angle to come in at. Otherwise you're sort of driving and trying to brake and follow the line across. So I sort of diagonal the car in, follow that orange square directly in front. I go from 6th gear back to 3rd gear. You can go to 2nd. I just find personally for myself, I like 3rd. I like to be able to carry a little bit more mid-corner. It does feel a little bit sluggish, but I feel like it actually kind of helps you as well with a little bit of tyre management and a few other bits and pieces. So when I get on that diagonal trajectory and I get close to the white line at the edge of the track, that's when I start to straighten the car up, and then I'm sort of in line with the tree in front. And then really the turning point, there's no marker really, so I turn in quite late here if I'm being completely honest. So I turn in from about this point here, so you can just sort of see the apex in the corner there. And when I turn the car in 3rd gear, I want to get as close to the curb as possible. I do not want to hit them yellow and black curbs. So I sort of aim the car at that angle. There's an orange square on the fence directly in front again. So I use that as a trajectory line. I diagonal the car across to the inside curb. and then I sort of like, I'm not dancing on the pedal, but I'm off the throttle until I know that I can start to squeeze the throttle back on, and I'm real gentle picking the throttle back up. And then the car's going to slide off the curb. Now, you want to sacrifice a little bit of corner exit speed here because there's a kink only 400 meters up the road, and you want to make sure you're maximizing through there because the next part is a bit of a straight. So I don't run the car right to the curb. I sort of try and keep it to this point here if I can. I don't see the point in trying to stay too far to the left, to the right, sorry, because what you're doing is you're just costing yourself so much time on exit here. So you need to flow the car out, but don't go right to the curb. Sort of, yeah, more halfway. And then when you turn in here, it's just a little tiny lift just to get the stability of the car to rotate in. Once you get the car to rotate in, you want to use all the curb on the inside here, and then you pick the throttle up once you get to this point here. So once you get to this point, pick the throttle up. The car's going to slide quite a lot out of here. It's going to feel a little bit nervous as well in the wheel. So as you come out, the car's going to slide. You're going to use all the curb. As long as you put the tyres like this, you'll be fine. So I kind of use the left side tyres on the white line as okay. You could probably push it a little bit further, but you want to give yourself a little bit of grace as well, just in case, you know what I mean? So I find this point's quite good. Get the car back on the track before the edge of the curb. Up through the gears, you'll get to 5th gear. Now this one's deep. You're looking for the 50 meter board. So there's your 100 there. So 50 meters is right here. So just before the 50 meter board, so I'm braking at probably 60 meters here. 5th gear, you want to get back to 3rd through the second part of the chicane. So what I do is I go from 5th to 4th here. And then once I turn the car in, which I turn the car in, I would turn it in earlier here, and I sacrifice a little bit of mid-corner speed to set myself up. So I turn the car in nice and early, get the car on the curb, but as it comes on the curb, I stay as close to the left-hand white line as possible as it falls down. From 4th back to 3rd in this little section here, and then I turn the car at the corner very early again. Now when I turn the car at the corner early, I want to get as close to that yellow and black curb without hitting it as possible. And then once I get to that point, I want to make the car slide halfway over the back of the curb. So it's going to slide to this point here. And then you start to get the car back on the track, and you're aiming for the 50 meter board. So I sort of diagonal across the track. Once I get to the 50 meter board, so this one right here, I start to brake. If you can't see the 50, you can also use the edge of the escape road, the diamond here on the track, and I aim for the last orange square right in the corner of the thing. So from down there, I aim, I turn the car in. It's weird here. So I use the start of the sand on the right hand side here as my sort of initial turning point, but I miss the apex as I turn in. So you'll understand why in a second. So as I turn the car in, I sort of aim for the orange square for a second, and then I rotate the car. But I don't want to get to the apex until I'm sort of like nearly in line with the end of the grandstand. Then I turn the car back at the corner and focus on the exit. So I clip the apex 3/4 of the way through the corner, straighten the car up, and carry all that speed up and out, down the back straight, up the hill. So this bit's pretty crucial because obviously you want that run up the hill. If you don't have that, you're just going to bleed time the whole race because you're just going to have people coming past you up here. So because this one is an overtaking zone. It's a challenging zone, but if you get a good run out of there, you can set yourself up on the inside, and nobody can really do anything about it. Same again here, just a little bit before the 50 meter board. So there's a couple of really big braking zones, and then there's a couple of like quite short, sharp braking zones. So this one's another short, sharp one. So about 60 meters again, down 2 gears. As you turn the car in, it's at this point here. So you're turning the car in quite early. There's no official marker or anything like that, but I kind of use, weirdly, that little building right there when it's, I run triples when it's in the corner of the monitor in front. That's when I start to turn the car at the corner. So it's just sort of a more of a positioning thing for myself where that is in my relative view is when I go, oh, yep, I'm here, start to turn the car at the corner. So obviously everybody's going to have a different experience with that. If you're running VR, you're not going to have that same experience. If you're running a single monitor or an ultra wide, you're going to have a different experience again. But for me, with my triples, that's when I know once I get that building right on the corner of the bezel in the middle monitor, I know to start turning the car at the corner. So I turn the car at the corner, and I get 2 wheels up on the curb because I want to rotate the car really quickly, let the car slide off the track. It's going to use all the circuit out here, and you're going to run it down the hill. Now, I always come straight back across to the left-hand side as soon as possible. I'm braking at the 50-meter board here. So I go from 5th to 4th as I turn the car in. 4th gear through here. Little bit of curb. I aim for the second orange square to let the car start to open up. I run the car right to the edge of the road. Back to 3rd gear. I'm braking at the escape road, like my final part of the braking. So as you come down the hill, you brake at the 50, you down one shift, you sort of release the brake, let the car roll through the corner. You might give it a little bit of throttle if you've over braked at the 50, and then I sort of get the car nice and squared up, and then I'm braking at the escape road on the right hand side again, and then I turn in at the end of the curb on the left here, and then from that point there, I, in 3rd gear, get close to the curb, but I don't want to get too close because it does tend to upset the balance on this inside one a little bit. So I try and get as close to it as possible without touching it. And then when I run the car off the curb, I use a lot more here. So I put 2 tyres over the outside left-hand curb and run the car up over the hill. I sort of aim for the red to black transition on the sign. It's sort of my diagonal angle as I'm coming off the curb. And then I know from that point I'm not going to head towards the fence too quickly. Got plenty of time to use all the track and get the car nice and straight and not scrub too much time off with the tyres. And then I'm starting to head back towards the left-hand side again. Same here, another really short, sharp braking zone. So I'm braking 2 trees before the 50. So at this point here, nice big brake pressure. Back to 2nd gear here now. So this one's a bigger braking zone in the sense of how many downshifts you are. It's still only a very short zone. It's probably like your 70, 75 meter marker. But it's all about getting the drive out of here. If you dive the corner too much, you are going to absolutely hemorrhage time on the exit of the corner here. So it's better to brake a little bit earlier, be a little bit patient, get the car to rotate nicely through the chicane, and then focus on the drive out of the corner. You'll find when we do this here, so back to 2nd gear, so down all the gears, stay as close to the left-hand side as possible. You want to turn in once you get to the traffic light pole thing over the track, so you'll see it obviously back there, but right here is where you start to turn the car at the corner. So 2nd gear, turn the car in, 2 tyres over the curb, right? Now, you sacrifice a little tiny bit of entry to mid-corner speed here to really maximise the exit. So once you come off of here, you still want to clip this curb, but you want to be a lot less with it. So you saw how much I took in that first curb. The 2nd curb, I'm barely getting over the red and white stuff, let alone touching the black stuff, where the black and yellow curb on the right hand side I use a lot more, and that helps pivot the car and rotate into the corner, and then I focus on the drive out. And then once I get to this point, I pick the throttle up, I'm going to run the car over. I'm very careful here, so same again here, tyres don't pass the left the left tyres don't pass the white line. That's sort of my rule of primacy, because you can overstep it quite easily and quite quickly at this corner in particular, especially on a quali run, and then you're going to blow your lap and you're going to be starting down the back and you've got some hard work cut out. And then I try to make sure personally that I get the car back on the circuit before the end of this green painted turf looking thing behind the curb. Now, you probably don't have to, but just for my sense of comfort, I know if I do that, I know I've got no issues, you know what I mean? Because I have seen guys get penalised for running over the concrete and stuff like this at the back. So that's just my little thing. I always try and get back on the track as quick as possible, because there's less chance of getting done for something. So then you're coming down to the final segment of corners. So this one's a bit tricky because it's downhill and it's quite a long braking zone. So I set myself up on the left-hand side as I come down. I start to turn the car once we're under the bridge, and I square the car up as much as possible so that I'm nice and straight in line with the right-hand curb coming down. I brake at the 100-metre sign, and it's a big braking zone. 6th gear, back to second to start. And then once I get from second, I shift between the two corners to third. So as you come down the hill, nice big brake pressure. Careful, it is quite easy to lock a front. Not so much in this car, obviously we've got ABS, but in other cars, it is a corner where it is known to lock front tyres and slide off into the sand. So set the car up, second gear as you come down. I turn in just before the end of the curb, so I'm turning in about 4 red cubes from the end. So at this point right here, I rotate the car in. I try and get to the curb. Sometimes it's hard when you're carrying a little bit more momentum. Sometimes the car slides just past that apex point, but you do want to just kind of clip the curb. Aim for the orange square at the end of the tyre wall. Then use 2 tyres over the curb again. Up to third gear at this point here. I come off the curb quite early, and I turn in at the corner quite early here. So I turn in right at this point here. So probably 2 squares before the escape road on the right-hand side. And as I turn in, I want to miss the start of the curb, but I want to pick the curb up mid-corner. So I want to pick the curb up sort of directly in line with that little apartment building there. And then from that point there, pick the throttle up, let the car dance off the curb. It's going to push wide. You're going to use 2 tyres over the curb again, get the car back on. And there you go, guys. That is your walkthrough lap of Imola in the Ferrari 488 GT3 for the Fixed Challenge Series. I really hope this has helped you guys for this week's racing. Good luck. Let us know how you go, and we will see you next week for week 9. Thanks, guys.